All right. Get rid of some of this context here. Let's see if we are live. I believe we're live. Let's get the announcement over in Discord here quick. There we go. What we're watching right now is we are in a Bitcoin long, and we are watching ES SFP, the all-time high. If we can't get up and over this, it looks like we just might. We took the liquidity from the weekly high. We came down for a sweep of the local low on the hour chart here, 4-hour chart, and we got a nice bounce back up towards the upside. Now, I apologize. I got to get used to the vertical format here. Let me pull myself up on some of these screens here. Let's see here. All right, confirm live on TikTok. Let me just make sure we're working okay on YouTube. Anyone there on YouTube? Yeah, it looks like bandwidth's good there. ES right now just wicking into this all-time high over and over again here. Potentially considering a short. But the channel here is pretty small. Less than 0.25%. We're hoping for Bitcoin here just to shift structure here on the 5 minutes so we can set a stop on our long. What's up, brother? Fortunately, not feeling amazing, but we're going to power through it. So this morning had a couple setups. We were looking pretty simply at coming into the weekly low for a bounce, and the hour chart seems to be getting that right now. Context-wise, again, a little difficult to squeeze into this little ass screen. But here we go. Just coming back into this old demand area. So we've several times now on Bitcoin have shifted structure to the upside, which is what we like to see for some bullish momentum. You know, we had this large accumulation range here that goes all the way back to about December 12th. Just locally, but the downtrend has been going since the beginning of November. The top of the range was visited one time here in December 10th. We are back up there right now, being the 6th, 7th, I don't even know what day it is, 7th of March, Wednesday, excuse me, of January 2026. I said March. I was talking about my son's birthday here just a couple minutes ago in March. But we're trying to SR flip, right? So taking a look here, we had a previous accumulation range that expanded up, previous accumulation range that expanded up, and then we got up and over all of this old resistance here, and we're trying to just SR flip. So once was resistance, is now support. And we're trying to fight off this dreaded head and shoulders pattern that's formed here. There's an argument to be made that we've already made this locally. I apologize for that poor poll there. Let me just delete something. Get some of these highlights. A couple of these brush strokes. There we go. We should be a little cleaner now. There we go. We do have a measure move if this pans out, but let's just draw it out here one more time here. So here's your shoulder, here's your head, here's your shoulder, and then did we get the measure move already after breaking down? Hopefully that's the case. You know, we have something like this that's breaking, and it did target just a little lower here potentially, you know, but depending on how you measure it, you know, we did hit it to the T if you just measure from the actual top of that last shoulder. Give me 1 second here just to check out the good old YouTubes. All right, looks good. Throw a high over there. See if I can't see this. There we go. It does work great. Okay, so a couple things we're looking at here. You know, we like a little bit of a back test into liquidity here on Bitcoin. Now, it's tough not to feel a little bearish here after you break this trend line because this liquidity curve comes all the way back down into the middle of the range. You know, if we're looking at, you know, ideas for longs, you really kind of entertain, you know, some larger pullback here on Bitcoin. Right now, we're in about that 0.50 Fibonacci area. You know, that golden pocket might be a little bit better, the back test support. But at the end of the day, one of the most bullish factors that I'm feeling right now, at least in the crypto world, as we do keep an eye here on the ES breaking out or breaking down, is the fact that dominance, Bitcoin dominance, is taking a tumble to the downside. So ticker BTCD, while now getting a little bit of a back test on the hour chart, if we zoom out here on the daily, you know, we've had a number of things happen. Maybe we'll just take a look at the weekly chart so we can fit it all on screen here. So we've had this very large uptrend here on Bitcoin dominance since the beginning of October of 2022. We are finally underneath that curve on the weekly. So curve 1 or deviation 1, deviation 2, and we're looking to break down under deviation 3 here. If we do zoom this in a little bit here on the weekly. So as long as we stay under this localized trend here, I think BTC could go sideways or slowly creeping up as altcoins start to get a little bit of a bounce and reprieve. I'm not betting the bank on that, but it's been a hot minute since Bitcoin's given a little bit back to the altcoin market. If we do zoom in here on the daily, you can see here we are under trend. And as long as we don't invalidate this move to the downside, we had this local head and shoulders pattern that kind of formed out. Again, I'm taking a peek here at something like this, you know, coming into the charts, and then a continuation, hopefully down. You know, we get that measure move and that breakdown maybe already in progress here, visiting that 58%. You know, what we really want to see is a sweep down lower here into this 57% to give us a clean breakdown to chase even lower. You know, we got some key levels down here at 54% again. So a little bit of reason to like the pump in the altcoin market. Again, altcoins have let us down slowly over the last 5 years here with what's been going on. There's just too many of them in the market. XRP to the moon. We can take a look at XRP here in a second. I do have some XRP. I am not in any kind of leverage long. Let's just take a quick peek back in at our Bitcoin play here. Trying to get this break. What I want to see is this break structure here. So just a little bit of intent to the upside. We did have one 5-minute shift here, and we're looking for another 5-minute shift here for continuation. Otherwise, we're going to have to close up this long. Now we are long from the bottom of the weekly sweep here. We're slightly in profit here at, oh, you guys can't even see it. I'm not sure how to make this work any better. Let's see here. Give me a quick refresh. Can you see that? Yeah, we're about $207 up to the upside here on the Bitcoin long. So we can get back up into this retest and we'll take some profit. Yeah. XRP wishful. It had a nice bounce, man. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, if you're bullish on XRP, a 20% bounce is pretty good news for some back testing. Although there's lots of areas here that we can kind of get stuck at. I mean, XRP itself is honestly just a... Man, maybe we should reset this chart. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that quick. Remove 33 drawlings. We'll do it back from the weekly. So we had this trend breakdown, right? Came down to the bottom of the weekly sweep. That was that Black Friday wick into the weekly range low. Got that reprieve and a 2 candle formation here forming on the weekly. We got 4 days, 8 hours yet to close this bullishly if it doesn't just bust off this order block here. This is a weekly OB. The good news about it, I mean, it's number two, well, it's not number two, it's number 3 right now in market cap, so behind Ethereum and Bitcoin. But it's held this range, right? I mean, history says in the past, every time we get a breakout, it just fades. Breakout, fade, breakout, fade. You know, we're above that yearly high and holding it. That's that yearly. You know, it's had this ugly pattern since 2018. You know, it had that lawsuit come into play. Let me see if I can cheat this up so it's over my head. You know, XRP had that lawsuit news that just kind of drove it into the dirt, into that sideways accumulation range, and everyone was expecting this to happen. And then that lawsuit ended. We had the breakout, and it put billions, hundreds of billions on the market cap, right? I mean, weekly oscillators are getting a bullish divergence. Just classic type 1. Open interest is kind of at the low here. But we'll see the altcoin market does. I mean, if we look at the daily here, this had a nice pump to the upside. A correction is due after we come back to that range high. So a 30% pump. I mean, I'll take those, man. Like, people like to shit on the altcoins, but when they're at range lows and you can catch a 30% pump and close it up and be done with it, that's good news. It's an easy trade. Daily's oversold. 12 hours oversold. 8 hours correcting. 4 hours about smoked. Hours smoked. I mean, we could form some kind of sideways accumulation here and then break back up and over for the altcoins, which, you know, would work in confluence with the Bitcoin dominance starting to come down. But if that Bitcoin dominance comes right back up, that's the news to just make sure you're completely back out of spot altcoins as they continue to drive themselves right back into the dirt. I appreciate the follow, K7. If you guys want to see any tickers, certainly let me know. What's up, brother? Unfortunately, I'm live also over on YouTube. I cannot pronounce your name, so if you got something you want me to call you in English, you let me know. I don't know if that's Farsi or something. Let's check in on ES here. It looks like it wants to go. Every time it gets back up to this high, it starts to get rejected. Just looking for that ES trade. Ahmad, good to meet you, brother. My name's Nick. CJ, what's up, brother? If you see me talking to somebody who's not in chat, I'm both live on TikTok and in on YouTube right now. Trying out this vertical format today. We can take a look at gold having some corrections as well. And it put that all-time high in again. See if we can't continue to make new support here. ES still looks great. Man, if it can get a pop, it's going to go hard here if it breaks over this all-time high. What's up, Devin? Devon, excuse me. Crude's still not looking great. Could have some excess supply coming in the market after taking over those Venezuela. And then we're watching, this is the futures chart. My crude chart on spot is all mocked up, but we'll try to get this in today for you. Let's just go into a daily chart because I think this downtrend is pretty heavy. Whew. And we're watching for potential longs off corrections of crude here off this weekly low. You know, we've been down in this area several times now on the weekly. It's just getting beat down. But if we start getting that absorption going, there could be some long potential here. For crude. Several trends to get over. This kind of looks like the Bitcoin chart as of late. So we do kind of have like an asymmetrical triangle forming here. You know, breakout could take us back up to the top of the range, and the bottom could take us back into a new weekly low, which would sweep us down to $32 a barrel, $33 a barrel. Boy, wouldn't that be amazing for the economy? DXY looks like it's still trying to fight this low on the daily here. So if the DXY can continue to the downside, maybe Bitcoin will continue to do its thing. What do we got over here on our long? I gotta just make sure I'm paying attention here. I should probably set some alarms as I flip around. Let's just check out the 15-minute here quick. Five-minute. And we're getting that break. Up about 300 right now. Now this is where we did break structure down on just the local 5 and 15 minutes. So this is the block that we got to get over. Right here is where all those guys came into the market and created that excess supply zone that we've got to break through. Maybe we can check over here on liquidity. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if there's anything nice above us, where people are just sitting here shorting right on our face. So about 3 million right here. Top of that node's about 8. Just wonder if there's anything hotter above us. Top of range is about 20 million. And then it starts getting real thick up here. I mean, there's an excuse here that we can get it to about 105K on Bitcoin if things go our way. Let me get a new chart here, see if we can't walk through that. Everything's mocked up pretty heavy. Let me just find one I want to reset. Daily low looks like it does want to come down. So as far as Bitcoin is concerned, I mean, these are the only auctions I'm looking to get reaccepted back into. Right? So we got one. Actually, let's get rid of this. So a couple areas here. Let's pull our... So getting a bounce out of the 786 back into the golden pocket here on the weekly. But as you can see here, this auction house is what we either got to break up out of, or if we break down, it is going to be the ugliest bear flag of the last couple of years here. Because this would quite literally give us a target of 50K, right? So that's what we're kind of fighting against here in the crypto world. Is Bitcoin taking a nice bounce and bringing us out and validating this weekly and daily bear flag. We want to get back up above range here at about 100K. And if we can visit that 105 area and get that rejection off the larger auction at the top of the range, you know, that would actually give us some areas to consolidate sideways and not fear coming back down in here into this 50K area. What we don't want to see happen is ES get a nice rejection and then start getting a huge drop, because that's going to pull everything down with it, right? So if ES gets a rejection at this critical level, you know, that's quite dangerous for everything. The NASDAQ's pushing up as well. NQ1, I don't know if that's all-time highs yet, but we are pushing it. We got a little bit to go here. So as far as the NASDAQ's concerned, if we take a look at the daily here, you know, this was the deviation of the range that we put in. And now we kind of got this flat area at the top here that we're breaking back out, which would give us a new target right back to the top of the range at 26,399. There we go. Sorry, I was taking a look at a message there. A little bit of a mixed bag today. If we take a look at total 3 as far as this is crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Yeah. It's actually been a minute since I've said that out loud. But we are backtesting, getting rejection right now off the 50-week EMA. So very, very, very critical level to get back over. So if we can close on total 3 above this 923 billion mark as far as altcoins are concerned, I think they're gonna pop pretty hard. We got to get off that. Let's reset that. Edit alarm, save. There we go. Yeah, we don't want to reject there. So if we take a look at the daily, we're back above the 50, rejecting off the 100. Let me make sure I'm telling you that correctly on the 100. Just check VWAP there quick. Yeah, it's the 100. Bear div on Bitcoin. Oh, we got the pop. Here we go. Back over range. Whoop. Let's pull us back up into here. Getting that shift of structure here continually on the 5. And it's coming into that excess liquidity area. So if we can close above this little node, that would be great. Struggling a little bit. Just take a peek here. If anybody's got a ticker they want to see, certainly let me know. Stocks, crypto, commodities, indexes, whatever you want to see, guys. We do trade it all. If you've been hanging out for a hot minute, we do have a fresh and free education over here. Actually, let's see here. I prepped this to do this a different way for us. Let's see if we can make that work. Let's take a peek here. Nope, it's not working. I'm not sure how to make this get into the right area. So over at tacticaledgetrading.com, sign up for some free trading courses. Take a look at our streaming schedules. Hop over in Discord, get some free content. Check out the new trading journals. Fire. Ben and a couple of our members have been doing awesome work on that. Our latest podcast is out here for you as well. This is a great one about mentorship and just putting in the work, guys. I don't want to give this back. Let's see if we can make a new support here. Where are we at on our oscillators? Breaking out. Let's see what the 15 looks like. Potentially breaking up. So this is going to be potentially our demand area now. Let's get this filled out properly. All right, so we want to get through this zone. We want to hold this zone and get above this zone. And then we want to fight this trend out of here. Whew. Apologize. I got to be mindful of the small screen. BTC 80K. It's certainly the potential's there. I mean, sitting in 91. I just kind of walked through the scenario of just trapping some bullish traders here. Let's see if we can find that again. Let's go back out to the weekly. You know, on the weekly chart, I mean, things could get really ugly, right? You know, a big part of me will just kind of redraw this out here. You know, a big part of me says, hey, look, you know, it'd be smart for us to hopefully get a little bit of correction here at this weekly high, which we're doing right now. It's kind of pulling back on us, right? But it is very, very, very... I mean, what happens, right? What happens if you take the high, the target's the low? If you start rejecting here, you know, that's the natural target for the rejection if we just don't find support anywhere. And that brings us right back down to 80K. And that just turns us into a sideways accumulation range, right? As far as Bitcoin and crypto is concerned, that's not unusual, and it's a highly tradable event for us at the end of the day. You know, the bulls right now are betting on that we invalidate this flag to the upside on the weekly, you know, with some kind of, you know, correction into some kind of local demand area, and then we get up and over, right? Is there reasons to get up and over? I mean, I think so. You know, if I'm a market maker and I'm looking for the most liquidity in the market, I'm probably looking in this zone right here that I just highlighted, right? This is an imbalance in the charts. This is an area of price action that has never been visited besides just going straight down. We call that a fair value gap or an imbalance in the charts. You know, if I was a market maker, I'd want to create a trap to the upside, fill this fair value gap, create that head or that deviation outside this range, and then I would bring it down, right? And if this is going to be a bearish year in crypto, you know, there's certainly the potential here that if this bear flag breaks down on the weekly chart, we could see a 50K Bitcoin, right? You know, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse right now, but at the end of the day, you know, the measured move of this flag kind of argues that, right? So if we just take the invalidation of the breakdown from the daily into the next weekly zone, I mean, we're coming for 49, 600, 666. It's crazy. You know, it's a tough one to think about right now, and this would absolutely destroy the altcoin market. It kind of flies in the face of what Bitcoin dominance is doing right now, but at the end of the day, it's a probability, right? We're not there. It's not on the chart yet, but if this flag breaks down instead of breaking up for invalidation, you know, it could go there 100% of the time, right? So we have this head and shoulders that kind of formed out. You know, it gave us a measured move almost to the T here. Like, what's the extrapolation? It's just slightly lower. Again, if you take it from the neckline, it's on the money, right? And you had this kind of sideways neckline or a complex head and shoulders on the... what's up, Hunt? It's a beautiful day out today. It's about 50 degrees out by me, which is unseasonably warm. I haven't really been checking the weather at all. That 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's, we're kind of in the holidays are going. The kids are off school. It's all a blur, dude. Just kind of been running around. Haven't really watched the news. Haven't really done anything but visit some family, run around, and just make the kiddos and the fam happy, which there's nothing wrong with. But kind of need that reprieve a little bit. Yeah, so we want to hold this curve, right? The other thing here is there's an argument for the SFP of the weekly range, right? To the downside for the bounce. You know, most of the time on quite literally any Bitcoin level, if you're looking for that SFP of the range, that's usually what gives us the bounce, right? Almost always. Now, if we go through that, right, we can take a look at some of those significant moves on Bitcoin and what happened with those SFPs, right? So we have that drive to the upside, that bounce to the downside, and then the SFP of that weekly high, right? Here's that SFP of the weekly high. What kind of move did that produce? Well, if we just measure it, even if you just took it from the close of the weekly, it gave us a 10% move, right? You know, those weekly levels rarely ever get broken, right? They always just kind of bounce right off of them and go the other way. If you take the SFP of the next one, I mean, this is the one that produced that 36% downtrend. You know, let's take a look at the last one to the upside. You know, the SFP, shoot this in a little bit here, of that weekly trend. I actually have an SFP indicator here. Here's my little SFP sign. You know, we had the intent to the upside, that 2 candle intent to the upside, that 2 candle intent to the downside, the SFP of the weekly level, and then that we were off to the races, right? I think these have about a 90% hit rate on the weekly for a 60% upside, right? Let's look at the last one. The one before that, down here on the 50K one, that was potentially the new target, right? So we had that 2 candle intent to the upside. We had the back test of the weekly low. We can draw the SFP in here. Here's the SFP of the range. And it produced what? Huge upside. Even if you just took the close of the weekly, you're up 100%. All right, so a long like that kind of looks like this. You're not taking it on 20x, right? Unless you're looking for the back test perfectly. But risk to reward there is still 14-1 on a 5x play. I mean, you can soak in a 7% move on 5x or add to it if you're taking a weekly play. All right, and let's check the next downtrend on that. So this one we didn't cover, right? Here's the 2 candle intent to the downside on the weekly. And here we come back for the SFP. We didn't break the weekly. Why couldn't we see that there? There we go. New SFP. All right, so SFP into SFP into SFP into SFP. Now, my whole point of bringing this up is we didn't get the SFP on the weekly yet, right? So even if we got a nice pump up, all coins ran with us, Bitcoin could do something like this, right? We could just simply turn it around here. Let me just grab a tool. We'll do this, and then we're going to do this. I can't manipulate this here. Give me 1 second. We want to pull this down. And we want to see this, right? So we've actually come back. We get the SFP on the weekly. The weekly closes back above. We trap everybody who thinks we're going to 50K, right? So we get that rejection off resistance, which is pretty natural here. I don't think anybody's going to argue that's a weekly resistance zone that we're rejecting off of right now. Okay. As we come back down, do we get that SFP off the weekly? The SFP off the weekly, the SFP off the weekly, the SFP off the weekly for that larger run up. And if we get that, we can quite simply do this twice, right? So we get some kind of pullback into the premium. We get a trend line forming, and then we get a bull flag, right? And then that bull flag breaks us back over this and starts giving us a nice run up into that 105K zone, which has been a target of mine here for a while as we've started accumulating sideways in Bitcoin, right? Doesn't mean it comes right now. I mean, look at any of these weekly ranges. Do any of them just come right back up and murder the weekly high and just keep running it on the first test? The answer to that is almost unanimously no, right? I'm not paying attention to my long. In the negative. Okay. I gave up $300. We got to pay attention to this just real quick. We just set an alarm over here so I can just close this if we lose this. Should not stream and hold longs. Oops, that is the wrong. So 5 minutes did shift right back down on us. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this over here so I can look at this a little cleaner. And I think maybe we can just get out. And we're gonna hold the low. What's up, Hunt? Are you Hunt from Discord, brother? Hey guys, all of our links are over in, if you're on YouTube, they're right in our bio there for you if you want to come over and check us out in Discord. The link tree should be there. Just hit that Discord link, or you can just go to tactiledgetrading.com, traders.com, and follow the link from Discord over there. Let's see if we can just get SFP off this level. Is this a 5 or a 15? So no 15-minute shift yet. We got to hold on the 5. No 10-minute shift yet. We got to hold on the 5. So let's see if we can SFP the 5 here. What we're hoping here is this just closes into demand and gets that nice bounce, right? We're on the wrong chart here. I had the demand areas drawn out for us. So we swept demand again, and let's just see if we can't hold this. Let's check in over on ES. It's trying, baby. It's trying to get through that. A little bit of rejection again. Still above VWAP. Man, if this comes down and murders, it's going to be ugly. Just a couple alarms here for some panic. Oh. What's up, J-Mag? I see Hunt actually redacted his messages. I didn't see what you said. Get a nice bounce again here on the 1 anyway. It does not look great. So we did break that curve again, right? So this is always kind of what we're looking for. You know, local head and shoulders again. And the measure move on that coming down, you know, is probably bottom of range, which it is, right? So if we can hold some kind of demand area here, which would be real nice. We're kind of in our morning routine here, was all mocked up, and we're just kind of taking the trades as they come. So some nice absorption here. See if anybody's coming in to save the day. Are we trapping traders again here would be the question. Let's take a look at our footprint. So we tried to let these guys out of the bottom. We had tons of trap traders here on that dump into the weekly level. So here's where the tricky thing happens with traps, right? So we bait the trap. We bait the trap in the weekly level, right? Guys start to short. You know, we feel some upside momentum with that. And then we pull back into that same level, right? Because what we want to do as a market maker or a bigger player, and again, this could just break down because we're coming into this weekly after a nice pump up into a rejection off the weekly high. Sorry, hon. What's up, brother? But typically what you want to see is trap traders pull back to make those trap traders think they're right, and then they add, right? They add right here, and then the bulls squeeze them out, and then we get that break of structure from the top of the range. That's almost 100% of the time of what we want to see. If we weren't sitting at a macro rejection high right now, I'd be a lot more confident in this play. But we got to play those weekly levels as you get them. Apologize, my nose is running a little bit there. My wife is fighting the flu. Let's see what happens here. Just taking a look and hanging out. And 2.2K likes. I think Ben's over there hammering. I have been as well. So new trend line here potentially as well. What we want to do is get back over the top. So deviation 2. If we can get back over deviation 1, we can invalidate this head and shoulders to the downside on the local 5-minute, and we can run it right back over. We're going about 38 minutes here. We haven't looked at much about Bitcoin, but in the ES and a little bit of gold. Bitcoin dominance. I guess we could take a peek at USDT here and see what we are doing. So this chart itself would tell us if money is flowing in or out of USDT, meaning people are exiting USDT to new positions, or they are, you know, selling into USDT out of positions. So if this is going up, people are selling back into stablecoins, and if this is dropping, people are selling out of stablecoins into potentially positions. I guess there's a little bit into cash too if they wanted to mark that. But on the weekly and the daily here, we are at, you know, that low. So do we get a weekly bull flag on USDT? And this breaks back up and over, and Bitcoin just fucking collapses into that 50K range, and USDT runs to about 8%, which it has not been since about October of 2023. You can zoom that out here for you and see that. Or do we just get like a local daily bounce here on the USDT dominance? Get a rejection off of the old auction here on the daily, and then we continue to the downside. So we see something like this. Just a little bit of bounce, a bit of a rejection, and then a new shift of structure here on the daily, and Bitcoin continues to the upside. Altcoins gets a little bit of reprieve. So big level here on USDT as well. We can add an arrow here. Excuse me. We can add an alert there. And we're going to add an alert on this curve to see if we can break this back to the upside. If you guys want to see any tickers or anything like that, certainly let me know. I'm going to go ahead and share this into Discord. If you guys are not in Discord, again, that is over in the premium section. We do have our VIP. We do talk about and trade live every single day. You can actually see, can you see these guys? Live crew is still here, trading the New York session. If I can find my channel here. It's just giving you the updates daily of what we see. We give you the New York rundown of what we want to play every day. We talked about Bitcoin dominance last night, and we talked about USDT just now. We did talk about a little bit about UST dominance today as well. Or Bitcoin dominance today as well. Excuse me. We got others here as well. This is one of the ugliest weekly charts you're going to see in altcoins, right? So a break of the trend on the weekly and a bearish retest of that trend. Right here was that Black Friday wick that just kind of destroyed us back in October, beginning of October. I mean, some of the altcoins went to absolute fucking zero. And I mean, they bounced off zero, right? And we got a quick reprieve because people bought that bottom. And now, you know, unfortunately, on a lot of altcoins, that breakdown high and that breakdown low are kind of the weekly ranges on altcoins. You know, I wouldn't like to see altcoins come back down into this range because many of them will just be dead and not come back, right? It'll be completely over for top 100, top 200, top 50 coins, even top 20 potentially falling out of favor absolutely completely, right? At the end of the day. We need to break it back above this zone for the others chart, right? So sitting about 220 billion, we need to get back above about 260 to start to see that reprieve. Ooh, S&P going. Let's see the futures chart. Buddy. Fighting it. Oh, we got a new trend though. Got to get above this. I mean, there's an argument here that we should be short. Here is the break structure. Here's the back test into the order block demand area. And then we have continuation to the downside. I did not mean to hit that. I do not have my exchange pulled up for this. Oh, wait. That worked out in our favor. Bitcoin holding. Come on, baby. Back in profit on our Bitcoin long. Just barely. Think we'll hold it out and see how it goes. Not XRP. Yeah, I mean, people like to make fun of it. I mean, I'm not a $230 XRP guy. Or one of these people who thinks it's going to take over the fucking finance system. Which is absolutely insane to me. I'd love to see it happen, but I'm not betting anything on that. But the respect it gets from me, it's the number 3 crypto, right? By market cap. It's got some institutions obviously involved with it because of the size of the market cap. I think the Ripple folks just keep selling and diluting it every freaking week. Here's where we don't want to happen here. So you can see the head or shoulder head. Is this the shoulder? And then we break down into this lower weekly level, about 90,800. So we got to hold here or forever hold our peace. Thanks for the sub over there on YouTube, brother. Got to invalidate above the neckline here. So above 91,551. We'll be sitting good for the long. If not, I am not short for lower. I'll just close the position. We'll try again another day. Ooh, baby. So where do we want to stop out of this? How did we get such a good fucking fill? I'll have to look into that. Oh, the real-time data. Dope. This is why we rarely do it this way. So we're gonna risk $25 to make 1,000. You can't fucking beat that RR, baby. Actually, we'll go back and mock it up. This is why it's tough to trade without the real-time data for at least ES. NAS 100 is real-time data for free. So if you like trading on through TradingView, NAS 100 is real-time data at no additional cost. So what is the RR in this trade? That's crazy. I mean, it could come up and just stomp us out, right? Oh, 100's fine. And we're breaking that trend. But 12 RR will play. Bitcoin not loving it. Again, if you guys want to see a ticker, certainly let me know. I'm sorry, you can hear my twins running around upstairs. Perks of being a full-time trader, you get to hang out with the fam all day. Help when needed. What's up, Pops? Face is looking really orange with this light. What's up, Omar? What's up, Matt? Genesis. That's interesting. What have you been up to, Hunt? Maybe we're going to go over here. Just some of those. Oof, man. Come on. There we go. Just fucking hold this, please. Honestly, this could go on for... I mean, we're coming to lunch now, right? We could be in here for a hot minute. Let's look at... Oh, we got stomped out. Okay, so... Not worried about that anymore. We'll just assume that's going to go. Let's take out the 4 hour here. Let's head up ETH. So ETH no real SFP pattern besides, ouch. I mean, we didn't even take the weekly high, right? We're just rejecting again off the 50 MA. Nice trend we could get a bounce off of. If we play this on the daily, you know, we're hopefully we can hold between these two areas right here, right? So the 50 and the 100 MA. So we came back up into that breaker here. Let's take a peek at, oof, Ondo just giving it back as well. Again, came back into the breaker block on the daily, and we're getting that natural resistance rejection off of the 50 MA on the daily. Morpheus is one of my favorite plays right now in the altcoin market. I feel like it's underrated. It is the staking platform and custody provider for all of the staking on all the American CEXs, CEXs, centralized exchanges, Binance, Kraken, Coinbase, Crypto.com. Also, the majority staking platform on all your hardware wallets, right? So they got a lot of trust in the market. They had a really unfavorable launch, right? I'll take a look at that in just 1 second, UHN. All right, so they came into launching into last year, and then that Black Friday thing just kind of destroyed the rebound. The Black Friday week in October. So where's New York yesterday? So we are back below that daily. That is unfortunate. Bitcoin's still holding. Let's take a look and see what UNH is, or UNH. Oh, United Healthcare. Yeah, they've been struggling, brother. Actually, so what caused this sell-off? Was this the assassination? Here's the break structure on the weekly. All right, so this gave us the momentum to the downside. So we have a very, very clear, I mean, you can see, right? We had a nice demand zone here that every time we came into it, it just bounced, right? So bounce, bounce, bounce. You know, we had to break out, bounce, break down, bounce, break up, bounce, break down, bounce. And then finally, this demand zone just gave out, right? So what we started looking for was old resistance turn support. And we are looking at a weekly chart here. So, you know, where was the last real high and the last real low on that weekly chart, right? We came right back into that zone. This was the fractal that we kind of broke. Let's take a look at some oscillators here quick. So as you can see here, weekly is still just been selling out, right? So as price is pushing up here on the weekly chart, the larger players have been selling out of the market. So that is not a great sign. But at this point in time, we have at least a 2-touch trend that we can set an alarm on. And as far as patterns are concerned, let's see what we can get here. Oh, that was my stop loss on. Was that on the wrong chart? So weekly looks like a diamond pattern. Let's zoom into the daily here. I don't like the way the weekly looks. But if we want to fill out that diamond, we're kind of down here, right? So here's the other side of your diamond. We got a gap fill. in this area here. Let's see what else we can line up. So let's pull our fib from the bottom to the top. We also have golden pocket. We'll just call it GP. Do a little shorthand here. And let's pull an anchored VWAP. Anchor VWAP's still kind of setting here a little higher. Let's pull one from the top. So we're above both. And let's just get a fixed value range here. But we want to do this from the high to the low. Let's get rid of this arrow so it's not too confusing. Let's get rid of that. Check our daily oscillator is a little oversold. So if I was trading United Healthcare, here's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for a market maker pattern to kind of execute here for this head and shoulders pattern. Downside CME gap fill into the golden pocket, and I'm looking for a bounce from here. All right. So even in so much as a sweep of this low, or an SFP of this low into that area. So I would set an alarm about $303, between 303 and about 280, 270 area is where I'd be looking for the next shift of structure. So if I was long here, one or two things has got to happen. Look, we filled the gap to the upside. So here's your upside gap fill, into downside gap fill, into hopefully good news in performance, right? So I don't follow much of United Healthcare. Are they performing well? Are they still under scrutiny? Are they doing things good? Are they doing things bad? Are their earnings good? Are their earnings bad? Next earning report is in 20 days. Volume is about 3.3 million with an average 30-day of about 6.25. So not a whole lot of volume going right now. Q3 2025 was a surprise. Good earnings, and the next earnings here is on January 27th, like I said, in about 20 days. So they had two bad in a row, a surprise good one. I think the 27th of January, as we pull back, this is going to be about right here. Oops, let's do a vertical one. This is the day, right? Do we just kind of coast downhill into earnings day? We get a surprise good earnings, and then we just get up and over, right? So whatever this daily shift looks like, 4-hour shift of structure, that's what I would ride. So you can see kind of how these shifts work. If you're down here, if this is coming into that CME gap, let's just pretend this is price action into CME, right? And we get a 4-hour high, we get a 4-hour low that holds the current low, and we get that shift of structure. You know, this is what I'm looking for. And then we get the runaway. So we're going to long something like that. So here, you know, that's the kind of shift we're looking for to happen into this gap fill. Almost identical. So that would be my plan on United Healthcare. I wouldn't be top blasting this. If we get a new shift on the daily and this is all just a fake out, I might re-entertain it, but it's got to do that. So we got to break this high. Also, if I can find it, we got to break the high here. So I would set an alarm at about 353. And then if that happens and goes off, you know, you have wherever that low is kind of my strikeout. All right. So say this is just the low here and we just turn around and bounce, right? We just turn around and go bang. So stop loss along the low. If we get a daily close above 350, 352. Yikes. Bitcoin is falling. Which means alts are falling. Which means, yikes. Do we hold the low? Let's see if we can hold the low. Yeah, that would be my plan for United. Let's flip over with Bitcoin here for a second just to watch this position. So back into this weekly low we go. Trends breaking again. So we had the pattern drawn out to know that it could come back down here. Let's just watch and see if we can trap some folks. People long in the bottom. Lots of trap traders again. This is why range low plays are the strongest plays. Range high plays are the strongest plays. Position is still intact. We're down 175. So people short this candle really, really hard and an immediate buyback and trapping these folks. But that's only a 1 minute chart. So we got to see how these 5 minute, 15 minute play out. So wick in, again, making these guys over here think they're correct on the original short and then potentially a squeeze out. That's the plan anyway. We check TikTok chat here. What's up, Austin? What's up, AC? What's up, Frankie? Frankie 5K. I love it. So these are the number, I mean, this is just a footprint, right? So the number of Bitcoin changing hands at these levels on this particular exchange. And time frame. And we're looking at Binance, USDT. Here we go. Immediate buyback. We do not want this to come back one more time to lose the low. But this is absorption. This is what a CDW is, a ticket drinking water, an SFP, all those things, you know, that people throw around those funny ass terms. I just got to know what the candle looks like. What do long wicks mean? Immediate buybacks, right? What do long wicks mean? We're dipping into liquidity and we're getting a reaction. All right, let's look at the top of the range. What do long wicks mean? Coming into liquidity. Long wicks coming into liquidity for a rejection. Coming into liquidity for rejection. Coming into liquidity for rejection. We got the fight of the bulls versus the bears here again. Yeah, you're welcome, brother. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's just random gibberish there. You got I can't even read it. I have to really look in. LJ, BJ. Those initials or something, or just you face rolled the keyboard for your YouTube username? Man, I would love to see Morpheus just hold. I think this can get to $1. $1.50. Hit that bull flag measured move and we're just getting some accumulation now. We didn't take that weekly high. It's a 4-hour chart. And same thing for a lot of these. Like Sol didn't take the weekly high. Or the daily. So we're just kind of looking for support. Well, I want to wick these. I mean, I'm long on a ton of altcoins right now. I mean, sold the back to 150, 147. AVAX is in the shitter. I don't know anything about this coin anymore. It's just so beat down. But again, it's flirting with that daily high. Hype is a darling play out there if you don't know about Hyperliquid. Let's check in some of our stock plays we've been running. This is Tilray. This is a New York Mary J company. Launched a new product into favorable winds change from the Trump administration. Gave us that pump out when they rescheduled marijuana. Got a beautiful run out with the news of them launching a brand new product. And we're just kind of looking to see if this holds. We had alarms here at the weekly low. Let's see if we can come in here and just sweep this liquidity one more time. You can see the alarm here. That's going to be the daily order block, or the daily gap fill. Just sitting on that alarm. Just shy of coming into that. Tesla has been in an uptrend fighting a new downtrend, but on the daily, You know, it's holding. It's holding until it's not holding, right? The liquidity curve isn't intact. It just wicked in the all-time highs about 5 or 6 days ago, and just getting a little bit of a rejection. You're in a put on QQQ. Let's see if your short is smoked here or not. Oh boy. Where'd you buy at? Or what's your target? And what's your time horizon? So top liquidity here. This is the area you do not want to close above. So daily closes today above 630. So far we're just back testing, right? So let's just go into the 4-hour here, see what this looks like. We'll just get it drawn out here completely. So 4-hour trend kind of looks like this. We have a large area of liquidity just sitting above us here. We do have a gap fill just a little higher that we did not hit. So excess supply in the market is sitting above us between 631 and 628. Yeah, I don't know how bad that's going to smoke you if you let that run the whole way back up there. Oscillators on QQQ are kind of moving to the upside here. No exhaustion quite yet. We have a fresh hour break of structure. Hour is a little bit oversold. So we could just be coming up for this local fill. You can see it here. This local imbalance. But we really got to start making a top now. Let's head into the 15. So we are above December 26th high. You can see the fill here, right? Here's the gap fill. We just hit it. Quite literally just hit it. So if we can get some local changes in price action, it might save you literally right now. So here is local deviation of range. So this is SR flip. We want to come back down in SFP the high, and we want to close a 15-minute candle probably here in the next 2 or 3. After lunch here in the power hour below 626. But if this just keeps driving, you could be in trouble. So 15-minute low, we want to come in and close below, which is VWAP too. So I'm looking for a fade here, man. It needs to fade almost immediately. 15 minutes smoked. It doesn't look like it wants to go much more locally. So here's what we want to see, right? We want to see two 5-minute candles to the downside. Maybe 1 or 2 5-minute candles to the upside. Wicking that high, not breaking it, and then an immediate shift of structure down. Right? So we want to see a downtrend to start to form and not re-break the uptrend. Let's see if we can find you a good example of that. When did we change trends here? Right here. So something like this here. Make sure I get this in frame. So let's just pretend this is the high right now. This is the deviation of range, just like we drew out, right? We get that push, that exhaustion to the upside. We get all those people trapped to the upside. Now they're buying calls because we're pushing out, right? And then we get that rejection, that acceptance back below the range, a back test into some sort of leftover fair value, which is pretty obvious here. We fill that fair value up, and then we continue to the downside. We just keep shifting structure down. So here is that next shift of structure into that next shift of structure, and we just never come back for the high, right? Until we finally just break down. So I don't know where you bought. If you're just a little bit in the negative, you may be in great shape. I think you're probably doing okay right now, as long as that scenario I just showed you starts to happen here. We get that pullback. I mean, it could come the whole way down here, right? It could just come right back down in the range, right? It could get a nice bounce up into whatever kind of fair value we left behind. We get that shift of structure, and then we create that new trend line, right? Something like this. Now this could be higher, this could be sharper to the downside, but that's what you want to see. You want to see this shift after shift after shift. So we come back up, we test it. You may find just a drawing tool. I just drug it by accident. There we go. And then we just kind of never break that trend line back up, and we fall back down below range low. So if we lose VWAP, we're probably in pretty good shape. With it, if the NASDAQ gets that breakout, or excuse me, if ES, those futures, that future chart we were looking at gets that breakout, I mean, this is going to come down, right? Let's take a look at Pepe. Down 70. Had the two contracts around 627. I mean, you're not in bad shape, dude. We're right there. So your break evens here. Why can't I draw a line there? Alt H. Interesting. Yeah, I think the drive was just a little higher if you weren't paying attention to the gap fill here. Right there's that gap fill. Right, yeah. And that was 270.44. I think we just pushed slightly above that. Yep. I want another red candle here, though. Very important we get another red candle here. We can just see what my indicator says for selling. Yeah, I mean, a lot of strong sells. This is, again, this is not something I can share with anybody, but this is VWAP cloud, right? We're just pushing through VWAP cloud, and we're well overextended into the second, third deviation of VWAP. So coming back down here, you'll be in profit here another 37 cents, or at least back to break even. Give you a chance to close it out if you don't want to be in it, or, you know, ride it. Bitcoin's still fighting its trend. But we're in that overextended phase here on QQQ. Let's take a look at Pepe. I want a futures chart. Let's go out to the weekly. So just like a lot of the altcoins in the crypto market, they have come back into those weekly order blocks and swept into them, right? So, you know, what exactly are we getting a rejection from? Well, this is where we trapped long traders last time. So it's a good area to short squeeze to. Excuse me, long squeeze to. Squeezing out the shorts. And we're getting a natural resistance here as well. At that weekly level. But it is a beautiful weekly candle, right? So we have weekly low. We're just going to mock the whole thing up. So weekly low. And the high is pretty much drawn in there. And, you know, a couple things here, just looking at a daily chart. Maybe we do a 2-day just so it looks a little better for you. Is this a disgusting cup and handle pattern forming, right? So we squeeze right back to the range high. Just a nice U-shaped up. You know, do we get some sort of handle here for sideways accumulation? You know, the trick here is we do not want to close below this old daily low. Right? Because if we come into this old daily low, it's probably going to start coming into old order blocks lower on every time frame. So my line in the sand here, if you're holding longs, I'm probably closing up around this level right here. 6342. Especially if you're holding longs from the lows. You take profit and re-enter, right? So range low here. And we want some sort of flag to form out, right? We want a bullish pattern to start to form here. And we want to hold some sort of deviation. So we consolidate sideways here for a couple days. And the bull cases here is we get a nice pop up and over, right? And then we actually attack that weekly high, right? So weekly high is going to be way up here, right? And that's going to be a nice move if we can get that. But you got to, I mean, altcoins, they swing and they swing hard. So if you're long from the bottom and you're willing to put a little bit more risk on the table on the time horizon, you know, the potential here is if we don't give it all back, you know, from current price action, we could put another 50% on the table here, right? And then I'm definitely, if we swing back up into this, you know, 10449, I'm out. Completely out. You know, if we're looking for some sort of invalidation, 4 hours just chopping sideways, it's looking pretty good. You know, 4 hour could look a little tighter than what we just drew on the weekly and the daily. Right? You know, break over the 4 or break under the 4 is going to really determine what's next. So locally, again, that weekly low, that daily low and the high. And as long as we stay between these two levels without daily closes, I think we're okay. Otherwise, we're going to test that 4 hour low. And from there, you know, the potential, you know, we call these single prints, right? So they're just fast up. They just boom, right up the top. Zoink. Right? If we can take it all that fast, we can 100% give it back just as fast. Right? So look at really any of these kind of short squeezes. Here's another example. You know, you just take it fast, you give it back just as fast. Right? You take it fast with no real corrections. I can't see where I'm at on my chart. Here's where we want to be. You know, you give a lot of it back fast. What we want to do is have some sort of, you know, proper accumulation. Let's see if we can get this here. Here we go. So this is where we want to be on Pepe, right? We want to be in something like this. And then we have that measured move, right? From the last accumulation period. And that took us back into the weekly high range of all-time highs, right? Here's all-time highs up here, minus that deviation. Oops. Now, the measured move on the current flag that we have is a lot high. Well, this could be 50. I didn't measure it. It's 20%. The current weekly high is 50%, and it's not all-time highs. So there's even room above that if we're going to keep going. You know, we don't want to put in some sort of bearish accumulation pattern to the downside, right? Which we really haven't done that yet. You know, always what I'm looking for on the bearish end is a deviation of range. And a continuation to the downside. So we drew range high. We drew range low. So if we get something like this, so we put in a shoulder, all right? Shoulder. We bounce off range low. We deviate above range to whatever extent that is. We fall back into range, into that 50% retracement area. We come back up and we can't break that neckline. You know, then I'm looking for the correction out of Bitcoin or out of Pepe to the downside. All right. And what that turns us into is a deviation of the current range. It's a fake out, right? So we trap longs here thinking we're going to continue to the upside. We fall back into range. We give those longs hope from bouncing from that 50% retracement, only to reject them at the neckline of the previous high and to break structure to the downside, trapping all those longs twice and fueling the short, right? That's how it works every single time. You need fuel in the market to make moves. So if you draw that, like you can draw that accumulation pattern really simply, right? So let's just draw the range. Something like this. Here's that accumulation range. Here's your breakout coming into it. You hit that weekly daily high. You get the rejection. You form a low. You get the rejection. You find support before getting back to that low. You break out. Now here's the tricky part, right? Is the demand chain forming higher to keep going, or is it a fake out to trap traders to the downside, right? We'll just use this line up here. This is the Pepe line, right? Is it a trap? How do you know if it's a trap or not? Well, A, you hold liquidity curve. So you have 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap. So what you did was extend the demand chain to the upside, creating a buy area here of excess demand in the market. If that's taken back and given back to the market, it's not good. So if we're going to get a pullback into demand, we want an immediate reaction up and over, right? So you want to always, if you come back and hold the low, you want to take the high that it created. So you hold the low. This is the hold of this low and a break of this high, right? The reverse of this is giving it back and switching structure, switching momentum, switching expectational order flow to the downside. Let's just say what happens here is this retraces, it breaks this, right? It bearishly retests it, not being able to get back above it, and then continues to the downside. So here, what happens is you test this demand zone and it fails, creating excess supply in the market, or demand in the market creates excess supply in the market. So the SR flip here, or support resistance flip, fails. And you get that break of structure to the downside. And oftentimes, what this creates is a target. So if you create the high and you fail to break this high, the target is the low that created it. So the shorts off these necklines are always beautiful. And in upside down, this is just a long. So if you take the short up here, your target is always the low that created the high. And that's a head and shoulders pattern. That's a model 1 market maker accumulation pattern. And it's textbook tradable, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 5 minute, whatever time frame you're on, you follow those models, they're going to get you beautifully in the market. And just inverse if you're looking for the long play, right? So you get back a deviation of the low, back into the accumulation range, a back test to flip it, and then you're long for the targeting this level. All right, guys, we've been going for about an hour and a half here. I'm going to wrap this up. If you like what you saw here, about 30 of you watching between the two platforms here, hop over to tacticaledgetraders.com, hop in Discord, check out the free training over there, guys. Trading modules on how to do this every single day. Yeah, I feel, hop over in Discord, Billy Bud. The link's in the description in TikTok there. It'll get you over into our Discord. I gotta hop off here, but this pattern, if you're a VIP over in Discord, my training course will walk you through all of this, right? I'm not asking you to do that. There's plenty of free trading on the website. If you want to hop over in Discord and tag me, I'll walk you a little bit more through this. In Discord, my name is Dunky, D-U-N-K-I. Hopefully, brother, I'll see you over there. Don't forget to follow the channel, guys. I do have to hop off, unfortunately. I'll be probably live again tonight for Asia session, so if you're looking to hop in more here, I can run some more training here for you. I appreciate y'all.